Hey guys, this is Flash coming at you with a special winter weather update video. It's been a rough day of weather model watching, and when I went to work this morning, confidence was high. I was feeling pretty encouraged and upbeat that we could be looking at a solid ankle-biting multi-inch event, and as it turns out, we need to tailor our expectations back quite a bit. Right now, as I'm cutting this, it's about 7:50. The zero NAM is rolling, and so hopefully in a few minutes we'll be able to walk through that together. But we'd be lucky if we get any snow accumulation, and so it's quite the drop-off in anticipation the last 12 hours. So it's a bit of a bummer. I thought about maybe not cutting this, but I haven't done one in so long, and I think even if it's just 10 minutes long this time, it's worth going through again because I would still say there's above a coin flip chance that we'll see some snow on the ground. The question is, will we see a dusting? Will we see between a half and an inch, which is kind of what I lean towards right now? Could we potentially overachieve? Is that window still open? So we could walk through some data here. As always, start with tropical tidbits. I got Pivotal up, and you know that these are the first two sites that I go to. Actually, let's start with the king. The king is the euro, and let me show you why I was so excited when the day started. The 0Z run was very impressive. You could see 2-3 inches for most of Middle Tennessee, most of the metro, a couple inches, and the talk leading up to lunchtime was, the euro has been the most reliable model in terms of verification for a while, and for the most reliable model to have the most snow, that's encouraging. Now, I mentioned in my Facebook post that you take the ensemble members and you take the mean, it was about half of this. So the op was ahead. So this, what you're looking at now, was best case scenario at one point. I knew to cut this in half, but now I think we'd all cut this by, probably 7-8 times. Things just aren't looking good. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I got to be realistic. And that was the 0Z Euro run overnight while we were sleeping. Let me show you the latest. Let me show you this is also the 0Z Euro run. You can see why we get 2-3 inches because we have these nice returns, DB setting up overhead, good moisture feed into the cold air advection. Low track is also favorable. You don't see the low on here, but you can look at where how the precip shield is shaping up. So that was the 0C Euro. Let's look at the 12Z, and you can see quite a different picture. And if you're looking for good news, this is the good news. You see the higher amounts are still south. There's actually a bit of a southern nudge with the low track. And also, I should also mention that the euro has been ahead of the pack in terms of recognizing this secondary low development. There's going to be a low that's coming towards Tennessee from Missouri, but that's going to weaken. And as it weakens, it's going to transfer energy and spawn a new low to our south and east. And the American modeling has been slow to pick this up, although, as we'll see in a minute, the 18Z GFS is catching on finally. But the American modeling has been way behind, and the GFS now has two camps, the old and the new. The old is being phased out because the algorithms are so skewed as biases, it just aren't working in today's meteorological climate, or forecasting climate, I should say. So there's a new GFS being initiated, just like the old GFS. The problem is that both are really bad right now. One's trying to get off the ground and one's fading. So the euro is even more of a go-to. Like, people will stay up late, and like weather weenies like myself, I'm not quite so crazy because I value my sleep and that's my time accordingly, but some will stay up. And so this was sitting around 1-2 p.m. and it was kind of a bummer because you could see like amounts really tailored off. The colors are impressive, but south of Nashville, you're looking at an inch to an inch and a half, which certainly not out of the question, but even this seems too high now, just being honest. Euro has been kind of it's been in a camp by itself. Canadian kind of half this. It's generally a colder model. The plateau looks good. South of I-40, this looks good. You're rooting for this. You'll take this south of I-40. Excuse me. And I said the same thing. So that's the euro. We'll start with best case and work our way back. So we're getting close to 48 hours now. The window, if we're going to see snow, it's going to be between midnight and 6 a.m. on Sunday. I got to say if, because there's a chance we could still be shut out. So, which at this point, we'll see. But why, maybe you're wondering why the trends have been so negative today. Well, a couple things, and yeah, the 0Z NAM is rolling. We'll go to the 12Z NAM, and let's go to our surface features. Our radar mainly with you can see our frozen precip in the blue, mixed in the pink, rain in the green, and we've got a nice strong high over Canada, the 1039 high, which is helping to move and guide the cold air into the lower 48 and central plains. And you can see by hour 42, so this is early Saturday, the low is riding the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle. You got a nice blossoming precip shield. That's, we got rain in West Tennessee and snow actually north of St. Louis. It's not going to be a St. Louis storm, but maybe more of a Kansas City up to Chicago storm. In this low, you see your main surface feature here. It's going to go to our north and west, and that's not what you want. If you want snow, you want to be on the north side of that low. You don't want to be south or west region or any variation. You want to be north of that low, and so we're not going to get that. The thing about this low is that it's weakening, and we know this. As you can tell there's a strengthening happening. I haven't dived into that. It's actually going to strengthen a little bit, but it's still going to transfer energy south. And maybe that's one of the things about the 12Z NAM that, we're looking at data into the future. So there's a chance that this low actually will weaken, even the NAM is saying it's going to strengthen. I still believe there's going to be a transfer that takes place, and I'll better unpack that as we export it for model runs. But you watching this, probably you're only concerned about the blue getting into Tennessee, and we see some scattered snow shower activity. Again, early Sunday, really overnight. Most of us will be sleeping, and you can see that actually really isn't a low transfer. It's just this main low that's riding well north of us into Kentucky and Indiana. It's keeping us in the warm sector, but the cold air actually coming behind this front is one of the big stories with this, and why I'm cutting this. There's going to be a huge drop in temperature. It's going to be in the upper 50s a lot of the day on Saturday, but we're going to be in the low mid-20s Sunday morning. So there's quite a bit of cold air behind this it's going to be wrapped up into the storm. So most of the time, the cold air doesn't have a chance to capture the moisture. It looks like we're going to have a better chance at that. This system is so powerful, so dynamic, and you see, let's go back in time a little bit, and some features aren't being shown, but essentially there is this high pressure that's diving in behind the precip shield. There's not an H for some reason, but cold air is going to be going like this, doing like this this horseshoe shape. So you got cold air advection coming in behind the front, kind of antifrontal-ish, and so, but the main energy, whether it's a low transfer where this new low forms south of us and thus puts us in the cold sector with moisture still around, whether or not that happens, it does look like there's going to be a weakening of sorts that happens by the time we get, into our snow window, and it just doesn't look that impressive. We could look at the 18Z NAM, and this is the North American model, by the way, in case you didn't know. It can be good within 48 hours, but we're just now encroaching on that window. So, sorry, I'm gonna go back and let me start it. We'll start here, and we'll just keep on going. One of the trends also is that main low pressure system you see in Arkansas. It's been going even further north, not by much, maybe like 50 miles. But there's been a northward trend, so it means that it's going to be just a little more. It's hard to note, but if there's not going to be hypothetically, there's not going to be a low transfer. It just increases the chances that we're going to be warmer than we think. And, again, you could see some snow showers, but this is looking like plateau and areas where you get more enhanced lift, and you're getting into some topographical advantages, which, for most Middle Tennessee, we're not going to get that. We may see some isolated snow showers, but not much. So that's the NAM. Let's check and see the zero run, which I'm waiting on to get through. It's only up to 18 hours, but this is one of the things that I like to do throughout the day. It's fun to let you, the viewer, in. Even if a whole run isn't initialized, you can go to its most recent hour run, which for now it's 18, and you can compare it to different runs, and just see, the wave energy, where is this low pressure starting to form, or where is it at this hour compared to the previous run at the same hour? So there's been a couple trends today. One, I mentioned that this low, as it moves into our region, it's just a hair north on the American modeling, it seems, which is a warmer solution. But if we go and check out some upper dynamics, which you could tell a lot about a storm system at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet up. I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but just know that you look out west and you see these contours, and there's clear ridging going on the west coast. But that ridge, the flatter it gets, the harder it is for cold air to dig, harder for that trough to dig, and it just affects everything. There's like this domino effect, this ripple effect, if you will, that happens when we don't have the same quality of ridging. The sharper the ridging is, the more amplified it is, the more that it just orients the trough and enhances the phasing potential, and usually you get a more sharper cold shot. Phasing is not going to happen, though, and you can see this here at 500 millibars. That your northern stream and your southern stream are distinct, and that's unfortunate. Although, in reading some forums today, that this could be a rare opportunity or a scenario, this cold chasing moisture variation where the lack of phasing actually helps us out. We go out, I pointed this out on one of the forums today, but you could see, you see how this digs? That is good. You want to see that if you are just looking for entertaining weather in general, but this is not, if you go back to prior runs, it's just not digging as deep as far south, and that's probably related to, that's in part related to the fact that the more that the system is sampled, has been sampled, it's just the Pacific North American ridge is just not as strong as maybe we thought. It's still positive, which is good. Anytime you have ridging on the West Coast, it's a positive PNA signal. But, so you get here, and it's interesting that we have this positive, we have a lot of vorticity advection, which in general measures spin in the atmosphere. And, it's a good indicator for cyclogenesis and storm development. Positive tilt, anytime you have a trough axis, any level that's going southwest to northeast, and you can see it's the lower Mississippi Valley, it's got some positive, you got a positive tilt trough going on, and it becomes more neutral the more north you go, which is interesting. Let's check our 0Z NAM and see where we're at. Still 18 and sometimes 5 hours will load automatically. Let's go to the GFS. And I'm not a huge fan of the GFS, but like I mentioned, but it's still worth noting that their totals actually may have been on point, have been closer to being accurate than the Euro, right for the wrong reasons, but I think the story of the latest GFS. So, back in time. Sometimes GFS does a good job making known its players. Clearly, there's going to be a low that's coming. That's going to see how the low actually in this case it's not on the Oklahoma-Texas border. It's staying more north, and it's a slightly it's 997 though. So I think the low may be strengthening a little bit. maybe it's going to strengthen and then transfer. Haven't really dug into that. It's interesting that this is the 18Z run. I haven't really checked this out, but it seems like it's a better solution for St. Louis and has, maybe it's a bit more of takes more of a southern jaunt than I would have thought compared to its 12Z counterpart. But again, you care about the amount. And at this point, we're getting close enough to where there's some solidarity. You can see there's just spotty amounts between a few tenths of an inch, 1.5 on the plateau. If you check out the NAMIT 18Z, you see something similar with its amounts. Let's just go out. You can see there's something there. The plume viewer, if we go to natural, this is a composite. You could check out different what different models are suggesting. You take the mean and kind of get an idea of how much is most likely to be expected. If you, look at that black line, there's your mean, and we go out. Yeah, there's unity that is coming into play here, and see that mean line, that's 0.2 inches. That is a glorified dusting. We have some outliers that get up to an inch, like a little bit more. It looks like we'll just say an inch is best case scenario. That's really what it is. You have a few that are like 0.8, 0.7, and then a couple that are 0.4. If you look north and west, I would still say maybe you get a few more tenths of an inch. But now I'm pivotal now. This was the 18Z. I think this was the old GFS. I think that was the old GFS. So you could see, just looking at the old GFS at 18Z, we're all in this light gray shade. Seeing snowflakes flying, I still feel like there's a good chance of that. But it's just not going to be a lot. Not even on the plateau, it's spitting out amounts over an inch. And that's just really depressing. I'm not going to get into more. I'm not going to talk about next week's snow opportunities until we get closer. We got to get to the system first, so I think it's redundant. I mean, yeah, you look at your crap apps and you see that there might be a snowflake icon for next Wednesday, and there's a chance that we could see snow in less than a week's time. But we'll cross it out. Now, it's interesting. Some of this I'm just looking at for the first time I've been able to sit down since work, and you see some healthy amounts at Southwest Tennessee. And here is something I want to point out. If a lot of these American models we've looked at tonight doesn't capture the low transfer well, which is it takes a low north of here, and whether it weakens, whether it strengthens, it sure looks like it's strengthened a little bit, but maybe its upper support weakens, and it transfers and there's a transfers out. That's what we call Miller B in the weather biz. As it's moving towards the East Coast, a new low forms. It's kind of like a daughter low that spawned off. And then takes over. There's a transfer, like passing the baton. Here you go, take it from here. And that second low, which the Euro's caught on, if that could form, and if it does, it'll be south and east of us. It's still looking like it's going to cut west of the Alps. So that's why if this secondary low can form, West Tennessee will reap the benefits more than any other section of Tennessee. It has the most to gain from that secondary low. And the Euro doesn't have these maps. You need special access to it, and you have to pay for it. So I will sometimes use, if a meteorologist on the forum that I know shares those graphics, I'll borrow from him. So that's why I'll show you that's how I show you the Euro data. But these type maps for the Euro, if you go to pivotal weather or tropical pivot there. So maybe there's a small window that we could see some surprises. But if we're going to see an overachieving location with this system, it's going to be West Tennessee, west of the Tennessee River. It's going to be LBL. You got to get into Kentucky or the Plateau. So, yeah, I mean, that's really. I don't have much to report on, unfortunately. I'm checking the 0Z NAM and seeing it's only at 27 hours out, so I don't think we're going to be able to latch on. Once you get into 24, there's more mesoscale models like the HRRR, I should say. Just fun to check out, but let's go back to our surface. 0Z NAM. Man, you got that high in place, so you got a good source. That ridge on the West Coast, check. That high up in Canada, check. It's up to 29 now, so let's see where things are now. 29. Well, actually, you know what? It'll be interesting to see what this run does, because look where that low is. It actually moved to the south quite a bit. As I cut this, we're noting that compared to the 18Z initiation of the NAM, that low at now, obviously there's a 6-hour gap, so 35 at the 18Z is going to be 29 at the 0Z. Look at where that low went. It went down further south, so we'll see. Now, you look at where the rain snow line is, that doesn't seem to be impacted a whole lot. It actually seems like the rain snow line was further south on the... Actually, that snow line comes down a little bit, but it might be a moot point. We're talking Missouri here. If we could see more of a southern trend with this main low, that can only help us out. And that'll be interesting to see. Now we're at to 33. Let's see. All right, so 33. Here we go. Got 34. So, man, it's up like crazy now. This is great because I was about to fold. All right, well, okay, so now where the low is over Arkansas, what is this? 18Z at 1,000 millibar low. At 18Z over West Central. That low is still a little bit further south. Not by much, but 50 miles can make a difference. It's a weaker low. Higher that millibar number, the weaker you get. So it's weaker, but further south. Interesting. Let's go out to 34. And we'll compare it to the last run. Actually, let's go back to 12Z, and because I think it's good to compare the last couple of runs when you do this. See how that low crosses into northwest Tennessee. Chances are it's going to hit Tennessee, but we're just going to be on the wrong side of it. But still, the more that could move south, even if we're going to get 1 to 3 inches of rain on Saturday regardless. We're going to get a ton of rain. The question is, will we be able to get some energy to hold? Will that southern, can we see some more juice on that southern stream? And could we get some good wraparound? I don't know if we'll see convective snow showers, but can we get some precip to linger to put some snow on the ground, at least get it widened up a bit? So, all right. Guys, you're awesome. Thanks for following. You can follow me at Flash Weather on Facebook. You can follow me on YouTube. Those are the only places really to follow me at this point. But I might be expanding my social media repertoire. Who knows? But appreciate your support and your viewership. As always, I'll catch you on the fry. Have a great night and a great weekend. Peace.